Oh hey guys, George here, welcome back to another video, and today I'm going to be doing my Premier League predictions for the 23-24 season. Guys, it's been a while since I've been here, but it would be rude not to do a predictions video. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. So then guys, I'm going to move over to this side a little bit. We have a nice little table this side. Excellent. Right, let's get going. So, who am I putting in 20th place for this season? Well, I have gone for Sheffield United. Of course, they've just lost their main striker, Ndiaye, and that's huge for Sheffield United because, well, someone who is very influential for them in the Championship last year is not going to be here this year, so that is a huge loss for them. To be honest, I can't see them getting too many away wins, going away even to the mid-table stadiums and getting results against the big sides. I can maybe see an odd win against the big six side at home because Burnley can be very strong when the fans can rally together, but to be honest, I think that's quite unlikely, and that is why Sheffield United rock bottom, going back down to the Championship. So, who am I going for in 19th position? Well, I've gone for Luton Town. Now, everyone wants Luton to stay up. I want Luton to stay up. But the Premier League's not a fairy tale, and I don't think their squad is strong enough for the Premier League. They've brought in some exciting signings like Tahith Chong from Birmingham, of course, but all of their signings have come from generally Championship sides, and those are players that haven't necessarily had a load of Premier League experience that's going to help them go forward into a good season and stay up, because last year when Nottingham Forest are in a slightly similar position, they spent over £100 million, and that's what you've got to do, I think, to stay up. And Luton haven't got the squad that's strong enough. I think they could get the odd few home wins against the big six sides, maybe a Manchester United or Chelsea, but I still think they'll be way off the pace. So for me, Luton in 19th. Okay, so in 18th position, I have gone for Bournemouth. Now, it was tough to pick 18th. There were a few that I could have gone for, but I've gone for AFC Bournemouth. They only stayed up last year due to the odd good few results, but then the man who brought them those, Gary O'Neill, they've sacked him. So their new manager is coming from Rayo Vallecano, and he's only really led them to mid-table finishes in the league. I think 12th place a couple of times. He's got no Premier League experience. How is he going to handle it? To be honest, Bournemouth, I can't see them doing too well, to be honest. I think they're going to be a contender for relegation. Now, they might just get out of it, but I think out of all the sides that I could have put there, Bournemouth are the ones that are going down in that final relegation spot. Okay, so next up, I have gone to Merseyside. I've gone for Everton in 17th position. Now, I tipped Everton to get relegated last year, and they nearly did. To be honest, I would have quite liked to see Everton get relegated, but it didn't happen. Now, they've not had any big signings yet, strengthening. Sean Dyche wasn't that convincing last year. Of course, they still nearly went down. If they didn't beat Brighton 5-0, they would have gone down. So, do you know what? This could be the third time unlucky, and they could slip in to that 18th spot. I do think they'll be in the relegation battle, but I think they might just be alright, and I think Everton will just stay up, but it could go the other way, definitely. So Everton for me, 17. Okay, for 16, I've gone for Nottingham Forest. Now, I don't think any of us would have thought this time last year that we'd be predicting Nottingham Forest in a not a relegation spot for this season. Well, this is what I've done. Of course, they stayed up only just last year, like a lot of sides. It was very, very tight. But they have made some good signings. Of course, they're looking for a new goalkeeper. Potentially that's Dean Henderson. I think there's another one that they're looking at. They've signed Anthony Elanga. They've signed Chris Wood. So a bit of Premier League experience, especially through Chris Wood. They've got a good squad. Of course, they spent a lot of money last year, so they've still got that, and do you know what? I think they'll do pretty well with a season in the Premier League. It could be second season syndrome, but I think they might just be alright. So in 16th position, Nottingham Forest. Okay, then in 15th, who have I gone for? It's West Ham United. Now, again, a few seasons ago, we wouldn't have thought that we'd be putting West Ham so low after a good few seasons under David Moyes. Could this be his last season as West Ham manager? He nearly went last year, and of course, they've made no signings so far in this summer transfer window. Now, they are looking at a few players. Scott McTominay, Conor Gallagher, potentially for a midfield spot to replace Declan Rice. And of course, Declan Rice, their captain, a big leader in that West Ham dressing room. They could easily struggle with the loss of him. I don't think they'll go down, but I don't think they'll do too well either. The London Stadium's not great for atmosphere, and without the fans rallying them on, do you know what? It's going to be a struggle for West Ham. So I've gone for West Ham in 15th. So then 14th position, away from those relegation spots very much. Now, this is a team that I don't think should struggle at all. It's Crystal Palace. Now, of course, Palace did very well last year. I think they finished 11th, but they have lost Wilfried Zaha. That is a big loss for them. He's been there for many years, and I think that's a big leader that they've lost in the dressing room there. They have got some exciting players coming through. Eze and Elise we saw do very good things last year, and they could be key for Palace this season. Now, let's see what happens. Of course, Palace can grind out a very good result from time to time over at Selhurst Park, and they'll hope to do that again this season. They should be very comfortable in the Premier League, and I've gone for Crystal Palace in 14th. So, who have I gone for in 13th? Well, it's Wolves. Now, they have lost a real leader in Ruben Neves. He's gone over to the Saudi League, of course. However, Julian Lopetegui, finally said his name right, is very experienced as a manager. I think he did really well last year in taking Wolves from, I think they were in a relegation spot, and took them to a good mid-table finish, nice and comfortable. And I think they won't be in trouble, to be honest. Wolves in 13. Okay, in 12th position, who have I gone for? It's Brentford. Now, third season in the Premier League for Brentford. Has that second season syndrome gone? I think so. They did very well last year, of course. However, no Ivan Toney is a big loss. Of course, he's back from his ban in January, but then by then he might have gone off to a bigger club, and that have signed him in the January transfer window. However, very exciting going forward with them. Burmo and Visa, some fantastic players at Brentford. I think they're really solid at the back. It looks like David Ray is going to go, but they have signed a new goalkeeper. I think it was Flecken. So Brentford should be alright. They are very exciting. That Brentford Stadium, Brentford Community Stadium, the G-Tech, is really atmospheric when it gets going, and do you know what? I think they should be alright. Thomas Frank, I think, is a really good manager for them. He's a really good fit, and he's got a good sense of direction for where Brentford are going. So, should be another pretty good season for Brentford. I'm putting them in 12th. So then, who am I going for in 11th place? Well, I've not put one of the newly promoted sides in yet, and this is where they do come in. I've gone for Burnley. Burnley in 11th. Well, who would have expected this a few years ago? Vincent Kompany was absolutely fantastic last year for Burnley. They played some really good football and finished top at counter, really. James Trafford will be interesting to watch in goal. We saw him be very good as England under-21 goalkeeper in the under-21 Euros, saving that penalty in the final, of course. And they've made many signings. That Burnley Twitter page has been very active during the summer. Some fantastic transfer announcement videos as well. But yes, I do think Burnley will be very good, and as long as Vincent Kompany stays there, he knows what the project is, he knows where he's going with it, and I think Burnley will do well. 11th place for me for Burnley. So in 10, it's Fulham for me. Now, Fulham, we all thought were going to go down last year, but they played some really good football, and they've brought in some new signings as well. Raul Jimenez from Wolves gives some extra experience going forward alongside Mitrovic. Calvin Bassey from Ajax looks like a really good signing, a good prospect for the future. And Marco Silva, again, he's got a good sense of direction for where they're going. They play some really good football over at Craven Cottage, and they were entertaining to watch last year. It looks like players like Andres Pereira have really found their role in the team. He's obviously the creator, and he's really come into his own, especially last season. If they can continue it should be a good season for Fulham. Fulham in 10. So, top half of the table, who am I going for in 9th? I've gone for Tottenham. Who would have thought that? Tottenham were very all over the place last season, and of course they finally got a permanent manager. They brought in Ange Postecoglou from Celtic, but I'm a bit worried about him because he's had no Premier League experience. Anyone can go to Celtic and look good and win things. Of course, he's had no real big league experience, so it'll be interesting to see how he fares. Maybe he'll take it like a duck to water, but who knows? If Harry Kane leaves, Spurs are going to really struggle. They won't have kind of their main man, their main striker, and a bit of identity to them. So it'll be really interesting to see what happens. Richarlison, maybe he'll come into his own this season. but we will just see that they've had a lack of strong signings to strengthen them, and they've not looked great in pre-season either. Of course, pre-season is not necessarily a way to judge it, but still, I'm a bit worried about Tottenham. I think, for them, they'll finish 9th. So then 8th position, who is it going to be? I've gone for Brighton and Hove Albion. Now, of course, 8th could be a European spot this season for Conference League, and Brighton are in their first ever European competition. I think it's their first ever European competition. They're in the Europa League this year, and they were fantastic last year, finishing 6th. I love Brighton. I love watching Brighton. De Zerbi has really got Brighton going where they need to be. Of course, they got to an FA Cup semi-final last year. They faced some big sides and got some big results. Really, really exciting players. Matoma looks just, I mean, where can he go? What can he go to? If they keep Caicedo, then that'll be big for them. I think he's a big anchor in the midfield that gives them a bit of structure. Of course, they have lost Alexis McAllister to Liverpool, but we know Brighton, they've got a fantastic scouting network. They'll probably have brought someone in who will do just as good of a job. So Brighton, I think 8th position. They're a very attractive side to watch, a very competitive side. But I think with the competition that's in there, they'll end up finishing 8th in a very strong top 8 this season. Okay, so 7th, we're going over to the Midlands. I've gone for Aston Villa. Now, of course, they made it into the Conference League last season on the final day. They look really, really good under Unai Emery. I mean, let's think of what could they have done if he was in there from the start of the season. Villa were very, very good last year, and they've made some really good signings. They've, of course, signed Moussa Diaby from Bayer Leverkusen. They've brought in Pau Torres from Villarreal, and those are 2 really strong signings. So Villa, I'm expecting to do really well this season, to be honest. They do have European football, of course, on Thursday nights, which might hurt them a little bit just with squad depth, but we will see. But it's exciting to see where Aston Villa are going. Of course, very nearly getting relegated a few years ago, and now look at them, looking very, very strong under Unai Emery. I think they're going to finish 7th. Okay, so who is going to finish 6th? The top 6. I've gone for Newcastle. Now, this was a tough one to choose between Newcastle and another team, but I've gone for Newcastle just because it's their first time in Europe in a long, long time, and you need a lot of squad depth for that. Tonali's a big, big signing for them. I think he'll really improve their game, improve their structure going forward. Of course, he can bring the ball from the defence into the attack, and he's got players like Bruno Guimaraes in the midfield to help him with that and provide the creativity. And do you know what? He's going to be a very, very good signing. It could help them go further in the Champions League as well. But having that Champions League means a congested fixture list, and is it going to be too much for them? Who knows? Eddie Howe does look like the man to take them forward, but is Champions League a little bit too much for him? We're going to find out this year. But yes, Newcastle, I think, will finish 6th. So then 5th position, who am I going to go for? It's Chelsea. Now, I've had a long, hard think over this one, and actually, whilst I think Chelsea will start the season a bit shakily, I think as Pochettino and the new signings gel together, I think they'll end up having a pretty good season. They'll get a lot more consistent as the season goes on, and actually, Chelsea look like a really good proposition now. They've cleared out an ageing squad, got rid of players like Kante, Aubameyang, and then even, sold players like Havertz and Mason Mount. So Chelsea, a lot of offloads, but some exciting signings as well. So, do you know what? I think Chelsea will gel together. Pochettino, we know he's a good manager. We know he's experienced. And I think they'll end up finishing 5th, which could mean a Champions League spot under the new format, of course. Okay, so 4th position. Who am I going to go for? The top 4. I've gone for Liverpool. Wow. Liverpool, of course, need a defensive midfielder crucially. They don't have much squad depth, and they're playing Thursday night football in Europa League. Oh, how fantastic it is to see. But yes, Liverpool do need the squad depth, and they really don't have that. They don't have a recognised defensive midfielder apart from Bajcetic, and is he too young to go on and take Liverpool to the next level? If they want to get in title challenges, I reckon they definitely need a defensive midfielder, a couple of them, and a new centre-back. This squad looks pretty similar in the defence to what it did a few years ago, so maybe they need to make a few more investments there. But I do think they'll be alright. I think they'll recover from where they were last season, but 4th spot, just because of that fixture list. It is tough to play Thursday, Sunday. and they do need some new signings, especially for that structure in the midfield. So if they can get a defensive midfielder, maybe they'll push further up the table, but we will see. So for me, Liverpool in fourth. So then who am I going to go for in third? I'm going to go for Manchester United, as you can see from the shirt behind me, my club, of course. And do you know what? It's looking like a really exciting season for United. Of course, they need the Glazers to go massively, but they've made some really good signings. It's been a decent transfer window. Of course, they've brought in Mason Mount from Chelsea, which Ten Hag seems to want all of his signings, and all of Ten Hag's signings seem to want Manchester United as well, which is definitely a good sign. So it'll be interesting to see where Mason Mount fits in. Onana's a big signing for that build-up play, and playing out from the back, of course, in the modern game. You do need to be able to distribute well, and he definitely can. He's a great shot stopper as well. Of course, he's fantastic in the Champions League final last year. They've brought in Rasmus Højlund, of course, finally a recognised striker, which is big for them. So if he can stay fit, if he can stay consistent, unlike kind of Anthony Martial, who just can't stay fit, then they should be alright. But it's all about chance creation for United. They've been poor with chance creation, especially last season. So if they can improve that, if they get another midfielder, Sophie and Amrabat, looks like it's likely to happen, and potentially a centre-back as well, Manchester United could have a really good season. Ten Hag knows what he's doing. He looks like he's provided a bit of identity to United, and they know who the boss is now, which is great. So yes, Rashford definitely needs to stay in form as well, just because he does have his certain months where he goes missing. So for me, Manchester United in third. So then there's two clubs left. There's Arsenal and Manchester City. Who have I gone for in second? It pains me to say it. I've gone for Arsenal. Arsenal have been fantastic, but as I'm recording this, Gabriel Jesus has just gone out with a knee injury for the first few weeks of the season, and he's their main striker. And we saw last season, it didn't derail them too much, and Nketiah stepped in and did well. Of course, they've got Havertz this year, who could potentially step into that false nine striker role, but we will see with Arsenal. They have got a very exciting squad. Signings of Timber, Declan Rice definitely mean that they can title challenge, but will they have enough for Manchester City? I don't think so. Especially if they go far in all competitions, they need squad depth, and no one has squad depth like the team that I'm going in first. So if they want a title challenge, win consistently, they've got a kind start to the season. If they can get some points on the board early, I think they'll do well. But for me, Arsenal in second. So of course, it very much pains me to say it, but in first, I've gone with Manchester City. Now, of course, defensively, they are very strong. So many centre-backs. They've just signed Gvardiol, of course, from Leipzig, or at least it very much looks like it's happening. Departure of Mahrez gives them a little bit less squad depth on that right-hand side going forward. Now, City could be in trouble with an injury to either Erling Haaland, of course, going forward, or a key midfielder, De Bruyne, etc. Because, of course, Gundogan's left. Is Kovacic past his best? Is he going to be able to do that same role as Gundogan did for Pep's team? They are a very strong side, though. They will take a lot to beat, but if they want to go far in all competitions and they want to go for that quadruple, can they keep it up? I'm not so sure, but we will see. But yes, Manchester City, unfortunately, I think they will win a fourth title in a row this year. If Jesus hadn't got injured and Arsenal made some further signings, maybe that would be different. But of course, with these predictions, a lot of the time I'm very wrong. Anyway, that is going to be it from me, guys. That is my final Premier League prediction table for the 23-24 season. Oh, I'm glad that it's back. It's going to be very exciting. And yes, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please put a like down if you enjoyed it. Subscribe as well if you enjoy the content. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoy the Premier League season. Have a fantastic rest of your day. But for now, it's George, out.